When most people think of stereo recording, the first thing that comes to mind is a matched pair of microphones arranged in an XY pattern. That makes sense since it's the closest way to replicate a real pair of human ears. But while XY microphones is the most obvious method, it's not the only game in town. The mid-side or MS recording technique is more complex but offers dramatic advantages over standard miking. If you've never used MS microphone recording or have been too afraid to try it, you're really missing out on a powerful weapon in your recording arsenal. Mid-side microphone recording is hardly a new concept. It was devised by EMI engineer Alan Blumlein, an early pioneer of stereophonic and surround sound. Blumlein patented the technique in 1933 and used it on some of the earliest stereophonic recordings. The MS microphone recording technique is used extensively in broadcast, largely because properly recorded MS tracks are always mono-compatible. MS is also a popular technique for studio recording, and its convenience and flexibility make it a great choice for live as well. Compared with MS, the main weaknesses of the XY microphone technique is the fact that you're stuck with what you recorded. In some cases, collapsing those tracks to mono results in some phase cancellation. The MS technique gives you more control over the width of the stereo spread than other microphone recording techniques, and allows you to make adjustments at any time after the recording is finished. Now that you know what MS miking is and why we use it, let's talk about how. In this video, I'll show you how to do it the simple way using the BX Digital V3 plugin, which automatically handles the matrixing and decoding of the MS signal and outputs a stereo signal that you can then mix and process like normal. If you want to see how to do this manually, which gives you even more control over the balance between the mid and side components of the signal, then check out our mid-side blog article linked in the description that covers the process in detail. We'll be hearing how the MS miking sounds on drums played by the one and only Matt from UA. Take it away, Matt. Thanks, Matt. While XY recording requires a matched pair of microphones to create a consistent image, MS recording often uses two completely different mics, or at least similar microphones, set to different pickup patterns. The mid microphone is set up facing the center of the sound source. In this case, we have the mid microphone over the kick, snare, and hi-hat because that's what I want to be in the center of this track. Typically, this mic would be a cardioid or hypercardioid pattern, although some variations of this technique use an omni or figure 8 pattern. Here, I'm using the Bach 187, which has a cardioid pattern. The side mic has to be figure 8 pattern for this to work. For this, I'm going to use the Bach 251 with the figure 8 switch activated. The side mic is then aimed 90 degrees off axis from the sound source. Both mic capsules should be placed as closely as possible, typically one above the other. At its most basic, the MS recording technique is actually not all that complicated. The concept is that the mid microphone acts as the center channel, while the side microphone's channel creates ambience and directionality by adding or subtracting information from either side. The side mic's figure 8 pattern, aimed at 90 degrees from the source, picks up ambient and reverberant sound coming from the sides of the soundstage. Since it's a figure 8 pattern, the two sides are 180 degrees out of phase. In other words, a positive charge to one side of the mic's diaphragm creates an equal negative charge to the other side. The front of the mic, which represents the plus side, is usually pointed to the left of the soundstage, while the rear or minus side is pointed towards the right. The signal from each microphone is then recorded to its own track. To hear a proper stereo image when listening to the recording, the tracks need to be matrixed and decoded. As we talked about earlier, many modern plugins contain this MS functionality, and again, we're using the BX Digital V3 from Brainworks. In MS record mode, we placed it on an insert slot for maximum flexibility so that during mixing we could bypass it and turn it on again to really see the effects of the plugin. So why does this work? An instrument at dead center or 0 degrees, like a kick, creates a sound that enters the mid microphone directly on axis. But that same sound hits the null spot of the side figure 8 microphone, resulting in signals sent equally to the left and right side, which creates a center image. An instrument positioned 45 degrees to the left creates a sound that hits the mid microphone on one side and on one side of the figure 8 microphone. Because the front of the side mic is facing left, that sound causes a positive polarity. The positive polarity combines with the positive polarity from the mid mic in the left channel, resulting in an increased level on the left side of the sound field. Whew, what a mouthful. For simplicity's sake, let's apply that same concept to the left or negative side. Let's hit play and see how everything sounds again. One of the biggest advantages of MS recording is its flexibility. Since the stereo imaging is directly dependent on the amount of signal coming into the side channels, raising or lowering the ratio of mid to side channel will create a wider or narrower stereo field. The result is that you can change the sound of your stereo recording after it's already been recorded, something that would be impossible to do naturally using the traditional XY microphone recording arrangement. Try some experimenting with this. Solo the mid channel and you'll hear a direct monophonic signal, but if you bring it up, you'll start to hear a more reverberant and ambient sound. This will help really show the impact of that stereo signal and what it does to the whole track. As I mentioned before, you can read more about this at uaudio.com/blog. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the link in the description to read more about this on our blog, and I look forward to seeing you next time.